In a world overflowing with distractions, we seek meaning. How do we transform ambition into something deeper, into true fulfillment? I'm Sam Pepin, CEO of Course-Educa, and I've spent years helping businesses succeed by connecting their goals to something bigger. On the Meaningful podcast, we explore not just how to win in business, but how to grow as individuals. Through conversation with thought leaders, innovators, and everyday heroes, we uncover the stories that drive us towards something greater. Whether you're striving for success, seeking purpose, or just looking for the next steps in your journey, this podcast is your guide to navigating the intersection of ambition, growth, and meaning. So please join me and our incredible guests as we redefine what's possible in both business and life. Enjoy. For a long time, I borrowed belief until I learned how to build it myself. Welcome to the Meaningful Podcasts. I'm your host, Sam Pepin. Today we explore how suffering can become a source of strength, why self-belief is built, not borrowed, and what happened when two men turned their pain into purpose. Lazaros and Kevin Palmieri are the co-founders of Next Level University, one of the world's top 100 self-improvement podcasts dedicated to helping millions of people become heart-driven and success-oriented. Alan's journey began after a near-fatal car accident at 26, a moment that forced him to redefine success and purpose. Kevin's path, however, was born from silence. The voice in his head once told him to play it safe, to play it small. But after years of chasing external validations, losing his mother at just 8 years old, and reaching a breaking point in a lonely hotel room, Kevin made the choice to stop borrowing belief and start building it. Together, Alan and Kevin forged a brotherhood that transformed personal pain into a movement of resilience, authenticity, and self-mastery. With over 2,000 episodes, 2 global podcasts, and a thriving personal company, their mission is to prove that growth isn't about perfection, it's about showing up, even when the voice in your head says you can't. If you enjoyed this discussion, please let it well know with a like, a small review, or even a quick share. It supports how more people find meaningful content just like this. Mr. Alan Lazaros, Mr. Kevin Palmieri, welcome on the Meaningful Podcast. How are you guys doing?
Living the dream. I said that behind the scenes. I'll say that in front of the scenes. Living the dream, busy, overwhelmed, but I much prefer the overwhelm of abundance to the overwhelm of scarcity.
Fantastic. Alan, how are we feeling?
I just got off of an interesting I just argued for collaboration. It was collaboration versus competition on the last episode I was on, and
right,
it was debate style, and I was on the collaborative side, and I'm a competitive by nature guy, so it was interesting. I'm in a great place. Thank you for having us.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to have a lot of things to discuss today. It's going to be a shorter episode, so let's get right into it. You guys are obviously the owner of Next Level University. Kevin, kick us off. Tell us more about this organization.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass it to Alan because Alan is the visionary behind it. While I tend to be the person people like. Alan is the person in the dark room behind the scenes building this brick by brick. So I want to make sure he has the opportunity to introduce it the way it should be introduced.
In the 21st century, you can't be alone in a dark room anymore. I wish I could, but now if you're the CEO, you got to put your face out there. So, thank you, Kev. I appreciate it. Mm-hmm. Next Level University, we had a lot of iterations, a lot of evolutions. We started 8 years ago, and Kevin had a podcast called the Hyperconscious Podcast. It was change the way you think, change the way you act, change the way you live. It was getting off of autopilot, really, which is what he desperately needed with love. And for me, I had Conversations Change Lives YouTube channel. He refuses to let me call it a podcast because I wasn't on the podcast platforms yet, but it was a podcast. And I wanted to be a fly on the wall to teach people what they'll never learn in school but desperately need to know. We teamed up, had the worst titled podcast of all time, which was the Conversations Change Lives meets Hyperconscious Podcast. And we did that for 20 weeks, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh boy, that's a long name.
Yeah, too long name. Not great. We were excellent at marketing, Sam, from the get. We weren't. No, terrible. Still pretty bad. But ultimately, it's still that same mission, but now we're a success company. So we used to be a personal development company that taught people about success and how to succeed. Now we're a success company that also teaches personal development principles. So we're definitely character-driven, heart-driven people, and we care about who you are as a person most. And we want to see more heart-driven people succeed because it hurts me deeply to see wonderful human beings that just suck at success, man, straight up. And then there's these eggheads that are just not good people that are really good at success, and I just can't have it. So that's kind of where it was all born.
Got it. Anything to add on that, Kevin?
Today we're a multitude of things. So we have a global top 100 podcast with 2,224 episodes, listeners in 180 plus countries. That's something we do every single day. We have a podcast production company. Alan does business coaching. We have an app. We have a physical product. So there's a lot of layers to the business at this point. But to Alan's point, the through line really is we try to help people get a little bit better every day. And we have to start by leading by example. And that means we have to get a little bit better every day. And I know we're going to dive into that.
100%. So obviously there was a pivotal moment in both of you guys' life. The accident that changed everything. Let me put it that way. Let me preface it very slightly. So obviously, Alan, you had a near fatal car accident at 26. And at the same time, Kevin, you were going some very, very severe depressions and sort of lack of self-worth from what I can retrieve. Before getting into this idea of teaching others about success, this concept of let's all get to be the best version of ourselves, was that always something part of your character before the accident? And if not, describe perhaps if that accident was actually the pivotal moments for this whole idea to emerge in the first place.
I think Kevin and I are unique because we're on two sides of a coin. So pre-26, I was the high dream, super achiever, prove myself. So birth father died when I was 2 in a car when he was 28. I had a stepfather from age 3 to 14. So my real last name is actually McCorkle. Lazaros is his last name, and now mine. So I'm the first non-Greek Lazaros in history. So that's unique. But anyways, cool. I'm being playful with it because ultimately you gotta have a sense of humor with your own pain, right? But ultimately, he left and I became this sort of prove myself guy, super achiever, straight A's in high school, computer engineering degree, master's in business, one of the best tech colleges in the world. It's called WPI. And it's like a mini MIT in Massachusetts. And I was this sort of, I call it STEMBIF, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, business, and finance guru, for lack of better phrasing. And all that came very easily to me. Achievement came very easily to me. What didn't come very easily to me was EQ and relationships. And so I was this goal-oriented, math-driven guy who did the traditional path. And then at 26, the car accident you're mentioning was sort of the second chance my dad never got. Head-on collision, 30 miles an hour. Yeah, I know. Not a fender bender. I am shocked no one was killed, honestly. But I was in a 2004 Volkswagen Passat because I wanted to invest all my money. So I bought it for $5,000 cash, baby. No depreciating assets over here.
They fancy all day.
That's what I'm saying. So, and thank you for that. I appreciate it. Most people are like, why do you drive a shitbox when you make $200,000 a year? Because I want to be wealthy, baby. No, so that car saved my life. German engineered steel trap of a car. I used to call this car the Tank. And I hit a lift-kitted pickup truck. So neither here nor there. Definitely rattled in every way you can imagine, but no one was killed. And no one was permanently physically damaged, which is good because it was totally my fault. But that was my, okay, I'm achieving to try to prove my worth because I felt abandoned by my stepfather and his entire extended family and my mom's side and all that stuff, which I won't get into details of. But ultimately, I was achieving at the expense, I think, of who I am rather than focused on my core values. So I was high IQ, low EQ. I was professionally developed, but I needed some personal development. And I think Kev was sort of the warm, likable, high EQ guy who desperately needed some professional development. And so we kind of found each other in a hopeless place in a way. We both had our quarter-life crises at 26. And we kind of became each other for a short time there and almost went out of business, actually. And then we found who we really are, sort of swinging the pendulum back and forth, so to speak. So super driven guy who also has some emotional development now, which is important. And Kev now is a very emotionally driven man who is extremely warm and loving and likable and actually has some success principles.
I have some success principles. So it was quite the opposite for me, Sam. Alan was a very intelligent, getting the President's Award, straight A's. I didn't really care about school at all. I didn't go to college. I got a job at a gas station, and I just job hopped after high school. And I thought I was going to be a loser. But very honestly, very transparently, very vulnerably, I was convinced that I was never going to amount to anything. Somehow, I got a really good job that paid me really well. I ended up having a girlfriend who was a model. I had a 6-figure income. And to top it all off, I was competing in a bodybuilding show. So I was quite literally in the best shape I will ever be. The reason I'm so focused now on what we kind of call 3-dimensional growth now is because I had all of the things. I had the money. I quite literally could see every vein in my leg. Like, I was jacked. I was in really, really, really good shape. And I had a partner who was a model, and I still sat on the edge of a bed contemplating suicide. So for me, I think in a way, this podcast is really what I needed in order to crawl out of the dark. And it's something that has allowed me to actually be proud in myself and in what I'm doing in the world. And that is something that I never thought was going to happen. So I think this journey for me was way more necessary than maybe for Alan in my own unique ways. But when he says opposite sides of the coin, I mean, we went to school together. That's how we knew each other. But outside of that, we were very, very, very different. And to this day, we are still very different, but we have similar core values, core beliefs, and core aspirations.
Yeah, complementary skills. Yes. One of my favorite quotes of all time, guys, is from some Khalil Gilbrand, I think is how he pronounces his last name. Incredible quote, which is, out of suffering have emerged the strongest souls. If you could sort of take your guys back a little bit at the time of that tragedy, both of those tragedies, one is more sort of physical, and I suppose for you, it was sort of a mental trap, Kevin, right? This depression you were facing. What do you think were the key mindset shift, perhaps, that turned that tragedy, which kills a lot of people, perhaps, out of their own sufferings or out of physical events, into the transformation that you both need to grow into the person that you are now?
Great question.
So I didn't know this, but when my stepfather left, because of all the abandonment, so 14 was the hardest year of my life. Just for context, this is the short version, by the way. It's very hard to condense the hardest year of your life into 3 minutes. But in this year, my stepfather left, took his entire extended family with him. To this day, I've never seen or spoken to a single one of them. I talked to him a little bit on Facebook Messenger, but never seen the man. That same year, my sister moved out, understandable, with her older boyfriend. Same year, my mom gets in a fight with my Aunt Sandy, her sister, and we get ostracized from her side of the family. And we don't associate much with the McCorkles anymore because we're trying to be the Lazaruses. So I kind of lost 3 families by the time I was 14, Sam. And I say kind of, but I did. I lost 3 families by the time I was 14. And so the normal path for me was never going to be a thing. But to answer your question about that was the first pivotal moment where I became this. There's 2 worlds we all have to live in, and I'll go brief with this. We have the social world, which is your reputation and your Instagram and, you know, who other people know you to be and who you are in the world, in the marketplace. And then there's the real world. And the best way I can describe the social world versus the real world is the wedding photos is the social world. The actual marriage behind the scenes is the real world.
Got it.
So I had 2 trauma responses. So the main trauma responses are fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. I didn't learn about fawn until I was like in my late 20s. But that was my main one socially. So socially, I became this coward who, I call it a chameleon, who could just fit in anywhere and would mold himself to make sure he didn't lose anyone else. Don't lose friends and family. Don't lose friends and family. Don't lose friends and family. That was unconscious, obviously. I didn't know any of this at 14. This is just unconscious. That was my reaction to so much abandonment. So socially, I was like a fit-in guy, and let's be funny and let's have fun. Let's party. But behind the scenes, it was, I'm going to prove my value. I'm going to prove myself. And I became this super achiever with drive you wouldn't believe. And so when my stepdad left, he took 95% of the income with him. We went from a yacht and boats and ski trips to I get free lunch at school. We don't have cable. I shop at Salvation Army. My mom trades in her BMW for a little Honda Civic. How do we keep the house in the family? Even if I get into my dream college, I can't go because it's $50,000 a year. And this is back then. So I got straight A's, all the scholarships and financial aid I could. I wanted to achieve my dreams. Very Steve Jobs-esque was my dream. He was my hero back then. And then at 26, to your point, to your question, I realized all of this. And I realized that I was chasing those things and I was running from who I am. I was running from owning who I am. So socially, at 26, I kind of decided I don't really, and this is the pain that changed me. When you face mortality, you face regret. And you say, okay, this is the second chance my dad never got. Like, what do I do differently? I am pretending to be someone I'm not socially. I'm pretending to give a shit about your birthday. I don't care. I don't even care about my own. Okay? I care about changing the world. That's who I am. And I'm going to own that finally. And so I did. And I lost all my friends. Seriously. I quit drinking and I just went all in on being all that I can be. And I finally went in on true self, who I really am. And I was hiding from who I really am. And I think we're all in some ways hiding from who we really are. So Kevin and I have a quote. We say, you're either afraid, this is his quote actually, you're either afraid that all of you is not enough. That was Kev. Mm-hmm. Or you are afraid that all of you is way too much. And that's me. So I was dialing down to fit in. Yeah. Kev was dialing up to pretend he was good enough. And we had to flip that script and own who we really are. So that's why I think the existential crisis for me was at 26, where it was like, okay, I've been trying to be someone I'm not socially. It's time for me to, who I am behind the scenes, to own that socially too. And that's when that started. And I'm still working on that today.
Powerful. I'll give you a much shorter, simpler version of mine, Sam, because that's just who I tend to be. I went from putting all my significance into external achievements and the way I looked to other people to putting almost all of my significance on how fulfilled I was. After that moment, I got golden handcuffs. I was more successful than I ever thought I was going to be. And I was so afraid to start over and be broke and what were people going to think? And I'll never forget. And this is how I knew I was on the right path. I quit my job. Alan and I went into business together. And this is 2018. Nobody cares. We're broke. I'm as single as you can be. It's bad. I mean, this sucks, this part. But I remember one day I was walking around the kitchen and I remember thinking, I have no money. I don't think anybody's going to date me. I'm as broke as you can be as an entrepreneur, and nobody wants to date a broke podcaster. Like, that is not cool. But I am the most fulfilled I've ever been, and I'm actually proud of what I'm doing and what I'm creating in the world. So I think for me, I went from wanting to look successful to realizing that other people's putting significance on you doesn't do anything for you, to realizing that if I could just go all in on what actually fulfilled me, that would be a level of success that I never thought I could have. And that was it. We never really looked back after that.
The why is so essential. Right? Simon Sinek built a whole career with that, very famously. Start with why. Actually, my favorite person that talked about this concept of why is actually Mark Twain, of all people. And only that quote, by the way. I'm not a Mark Twain sort of guy. But that being said, it's a very interesting one, which is the two most important days in your life are the one you're born, because nothing started before that, and the day you realize and you find out why, perhaps. Mm-hmm. And that seemed to be your case. I mean, sort of friends, same school, then business partner, realized that you were very complementary in what each other's was lacking. Mm-hmm. And then these sort of shared obsessions with growth and so on, which is so interesting. I would treat this very interesting way that you sort of formulated what you guys are doing, and I'd love to elaborate on that from a philosophical perspective. You guys said we didn't start a podcast, we built a movement around self-improvement and truth, and perhaps nowadays even success, right? A later alter version of that could add success to that quote. When did you realize that your message was going to be evolving further than a podcast? Like Kelvin said, nobody wants to date a broke podcaster. I suppose that changed a little bit. Now podcaster is sort of the new big stuff. But anyways, when you thought about that global vision, when was that sort of shift in moments when you realize, all right, a podcast show is great, but we need perhaps different levers, different vessels for that global mission to be accomplished?
Can I answer real quick, Alan?
Yeah, of course.
When I couldn't pay my bills. That was it for me, Sam. I remember going to Alan and saying, hey, I love this. This is awesome. I need to make some money. You know what I mean? Not because I'm trying to be wealthy, but like I am in debt and I can't pay my rent. I need to find a way to make some money. And Alan said, well, you should start coaching for free. And I was like, love the first part. Don't love the second part as much. I'm in. Why for free? and that really began kind of like the journey of mastery and trying to get really good at this. So for me, again, I am a really good number 2. I'm not a visionary by any stretch of the imagination, but if you tell me to jump, I will say how high, and I will continue jumping until you tell me not to or tell me to do something else. I'm like a robot with that. But for me, at least, it was when I realized that my delusion of, you start a podcast, you grow a podcast, people reach out and say, hey, I want to sponsor you. That's not going to happen. / that's not even the way we want to do it. We're not interested in ads. We're not interested in sponsors. I don't care. I don't want your money. You could offer me any amount. I'm not interested. We've never taken funding. We will never take funding. It's been an internal thing from the beginning.
Bootstrap, baby.
Yeah, we bootstrap.
Bootstrap, homegrown.
When I realized,
all day.
Yeah, when I realized it was going to be harder than I thought to turn this into some level of career, that's when I said, I'm probably going to have to diversify here a little bit. I just wanted to be a podcaster, Sam, but that didn't work like I thought it was going to.
Yeah.
Interesting. Alan, anything you'd like to add on that?
Yeah, so macroscopic and microscopic. So Kev is a microscopic thinker, so he does seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, quarters, years, lifetime. Well, decade, lifetime. I did lifetime and reverse engineered it. So macroscopic and microscopic. So Kev is short-term thinking. What I got to pay my bills now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, don't worry about that, man. We're going to be fine. And it's all part of the plan. So the first 2 years in business, and I now wish that I had led him better because I didn't tell him this. But the first 2 years in business, we made a total between the two of us. Okay. The total. Now remember, Massachusetts. Okay. This is not great income. A total of $13,000. The entire first 2 years.
Lamborghinis and
all of
Instagram
course.
stories.
No, not nothing but being in shape and pure willpower, Sam. That's all we had. We were in great shape though. Good for us.
Yeah. Fair.
Pretty good.
That was all we had. We were a couple guys,
bodybuilders.
A couple bodybuilders. And in the last 2 years, we are projected for over $800,000, most likely $900,000, depending on how Q4 goes, which is exciting because we have no investors. This is entirely bootstrapped. The reason I tell people that is not to flex. The reason I tell people that is because in the beginning, Kevin had no idea that was what was going to happen. Right? He drives a $65,000 car now. And he didn't tell me this back then, but when he first came to me, he's like, well, I want to be Joe Rogan. I was like, okay, perfect. Let's do it. Your own unique flavor of it. But he and I have now talked vulnerably behind the scenes, and he said, I said I wanted to be. I didn't say I think I can be, and it certainly wasn't a goal.
Oh, it would be nice. It would be nice to be. That was as far as I got. It was pretty cool.
This started with, I found a Tony Robbins TED Talk, and I respect Tony deeply, and I don't resonate with him in some ways.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's an and, but I respect what he's done in the world. And I wanted the closest thing I could point to a career that I resonated with, that I was going to build, other than the Steve Jobs thing, was Tony. And so I said, I want to be my own unique flavor, Alan Lazarus version of what he's done, but in the 21st century. And back then, Kevin didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. But that was basically it. And I was like, okay, Joe Rogan and Tony, imagine if they teamed up, what they could do, how much they could change the world, right? And now we don't want to be either of them because we've grown into men and realized we're nothing like them in some ways. And in some ways we are like them. And this is nothing against Joe or Tony. We've just met so many of our heroes and we're not interested anymore. Because whoa. But at the end of the day, we are now our own unique flavor of that. And when you ask about like the vision was always to build the most successful personal development company in history. And then I eventually realized that no one gives a shit. And they care about success first and personal development second. So you have to lead with what people want. Everybody wants success, but what they need is personal and professional development. And so I used to try to lead with the kale and then give the candy, and that just eventually doesn't work. So now we are a success company that also helps you with personal development. And now I'm a business coach I coach 21 individuals right now, some multimillionaires, some at the very beginning. And basically they come to me for what they want, which is I want to grow my company. Who doesn't? I need to grow my company in some cases. Who doesn't? But what they really need is an actual system of success that guarantees probabilistic statistical success. And to break that down, it's dreams, goals, priorities, metrics, habits, skills, and identity. And so what you realize when you coach so many people over the years, I've got 11,478 hours of coaching, training, and podcasting under my belt. all different industries, all different cultures, all over the world. I don't even know how many countries. And you realize with a 19-person team that everyone is different and principles work the same for everyone. But the way you apply those principles has to be different based on the individual. So number one is own who you actually are. Most of us don't. Okay, Kev, you're afraid not to be enough. Let's own it.
For sure.
Okay, how do you become enough? Get a mentor. Awesome. Okay. Alan, you have dozens of mentors, and it turns out you actually need to stop listening to some of them because they were born in a different century and things have changed and they don't think social media is the way. So own who you are is number one, and usually you don't do that until you have someone who really learns you and studies you and knows you better than you know yourself, and that's what my coaching has become. And then we reverse engineer your goals and dreams, not based on ego, but based on truth. And then if you don't have work ethic, you can forget it because it's not going to happen. Yeah. You can't really double down on luck. But if you have work ethic and high coachability, I can reverse engineer your goals and dreams. And then sometimes I have to tell people, listen, you aren't wired for this. And that's okay. And, you need to lower the target. And other people, it's like, yo, you're shooting too small. What are we doing? You're already at 5 million. Why 10 million is your net worth goal? You're already at 5. You're 38. What are we doing here, man? Dial that up, right? So it all depends on the individual. The medicine that will kill one patient will kill another. That will cure one patient will kill another. I think I said the same thing there. And you basically, all of us are unique, but the principles apply to everyone.
It's so interesting. I was invited to the GT event to make a success. He came very quickly in Montreal. If you guys don't know GT Fox, one of the highest business paid coach in the world, and a very successful man. And he had people basically going to the front. And yes, the one Montreal here, that's very important, very leftist, very thinking small sort of place. And I live in Montreal. I love Montreal, but that is just a plain fact. Mm-hmm. And there was somebody on the stage, and he demolished him. Really, and it was very no black or white. He was just saying, look, you're not cut for this. I hope that you find something perhaps that you can accomplish, because you're a good person. You seem like a good person, yeah. But what you're aiming at is simply not something in which you're currently able to achieve. And it was very interesting. Some people were leaving the room. It was a little bit chaotic, but some people were leaving the room certainly. But to me, that honesty is very much part of what you guys are doing. And when I look at the never quit mentality and philosophy, right, which is sort of Kevin's portion of this, you're Alan, sort of this next level sort of guy, right. But they very much converge into a shared formula, right, of perseverance, of purpose, self-mastery, which you mentioned, and work ethic, which, like you said, doesn't matter. We all have the same goal, right? That's clear. You don't fall to the level of your goal. You fall to the level of your systems, and therefore how you're building perhaps the microscopic steps to get to that goal is perhaps what will make you successful or not. But I'm interested though, when you're thinking about the difference between smart perseverance and stubborn suffering, to maybe somebody's point of nice. you're not perhaps cut for this shit. Let's call it all frankly. How do you teach that to your audience and even to yourself, perhaps?
We talked about this recently, Sam. So if we think of it from like a weapons strategy perspective, I am the battering ram. I will just smash myself into something until that thing falls down, and then I'll do it again. Alan is more the hacker. Like, he gets in the house without ever having to be in the house. I have to jump through the front door of the house. I don't know if I could probably help somebody with grit, but when it comes to like the other side of it, I think it's just the perspective I would add on this is you're most likely going to have to suffer. You're most likely going to have to suffer far more than you want to in order to get the result you want. And at least if we have the proper expectations when we start, I think you'll probably be better off. If you take something out of the oven and you give it to somebody, you say, hey, be very, very careful. This is steaming hot. One of two things is going to happen. They're going to bite into it and it's going to be hotter than they thought, or they're going to bite into it and it's going to be cooler than they thought. Odds are it's probably going to be the second one, because you said it's extremely, extremely hot. Do not touch it. I think when it comes to success, a lot of people are doing a disservice by saying 3 simple steps. How to change your life in 6 months. None of that shit is real. That's all fake. It works on YouTube. It doesn't work in real life. I want to be the guy who says, look, this has taken parts of me that I will never get back. yes, I'm more quote unquote successful than I used to be, but I also have traded in pieces of my well-being that I can never access again. And I just don't think many people want to talk about that. So that's my perspective, at least, as the battering ram in the business.
Yeah, you kill the version that's of your present version to acquire perhaps the next version of yourself,
Yes.
if you will. I love that methodology for sure.
Appreciate
Go for it, Alan.
Sam, what was the quote? It was something smart perseverance versus stubborn suffering.
That's exactly right.
That was it? Okay.
It was not a
That
quote
was
though,
fine.
but it was.
No, well, it is now. I'm jacking that. I'm kidding. No, but I like that. Smart perseverance versus stubborn suffering. I'll give you, we just did an episode 2 days ago on recklessness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Kevin and I grew up without fathers and grew up rough. And all things are relative. We were born in a wealthy country and stuff like that. So I get it. There's relativity to rough, but my goodness. And I told Kevin this. I said, I could never be business partners with you if you grew up in a good environment, like straight up. There's no way, because I just can't. We joke about the guy on the golf course in boat shoes who just has never suffered in his life, right? And I just can't with that. That's not how you build a great company from scratch. If you inherit wealth, then you're going to be fine. You just keep rolling that thing. And I wouldn't wish upon others what I've had to go through or Kevin has had to go through, honestly. That said, there's an upside and a downside to everything. So smart suffering or smart perseverance is what we now do, I think.
I think we do smart suffering. I think we probably do smart suffering.
Which is why I slipped.
A little Freudian slip there.
Yeah, a little Freudian slip there. Yeah, so now we've decided, instead of, what was the other one? It was stubborn suffering. We've transitioned to smart suffering. The truth is, I think doing hard things is what makes you great. And I think the world is increasingly trying to make everything easier. And I think that is a short-term win for a long-term loss. Now, I need this to be clear. Anyone out there watching or listening, not everyone is wired the same way. If you are not wired for suffering, don't necessarily have to do what we're saying. But if, and this is a big if you want to be Michael Jordan level at anything, you better love suffering and love it quick. And you better You better make everything harder, not easier. My girlfriend and future wife, Emilia, who I live with, this woman will make everything harder. She cannot, I kid you not, we take walks. We have a little Pomeranian Chihuahua. We take walks. And she can't not walk on the outer edge. This woman cannot take a shortcut. Cannot. I love it. She's an animal. It's unbelievable. I work out with her every day. If you're not wired like that, you can't be Michael Jordan. And that's just the truth. And that's okay. Be you. And this is, don't take this clip and put it out of context because I think it'll come off wrong, but I need this to be shared. I looked this up. I ChatGPT'd the shit out of this. There is a canine, which is the species of dog, canine. Mm-hmm. People know it as dog, but it's called canine. There's 500 recognized species of dog. Okay, well, we are all Homo sapiens, human beings. There are 500 breeds of dog for canine. There's also 500 breeds of human for Homo sapiens. We're not all Dalmatians. We're certainly not all Great Danes. And we're certainly not all Chihuahuas. We need them all, baby. We need all walks of life, right? Own who you are. I haven't taken a day off in 10 fucking years, and I'm not gonna. I don't care. Oh, Alan, that's so bad for you. No, it's bad for you. It's good for me. Trust me. When I was taking days off, I was not happy. So at the end of the day, be yourself. And if everything you build isn't from that place of self-awareness, you're in so much trouble. And I'm speaking from experience because I tried to be the fun, loving, warm, woo, and it was terrible. So don't try to be someone else. You got to be yourself.
That's Kevin's job.
That's my job.
Come on.
I did it. I didn't take a day off, and I had a streak. It was like 4 or 5 years. And then it was like, honestly, man, I need Sundays. I need to go to breakfast with my wife. Like I need to do stuff because the measure for me is when I go to Alan and say, dude, I'm not fulfilled. Like I'm just miserable. I don't
look forward to anything.
Yeah, there's nothing to look forward to. Like last night we worked until 9, 8:30 or whatever time it was. I literally couldn't sleep because I ate right before bed and that screws up and I got up and went and hit heavy legs on 6 hours of sleep. Like today sucks. It's brutal. And what do you want?
That's fine.
It is what it is. You don't get to 2,200 episodes and not miss a day for 4 years straight because you decide, I don't feel like it. Like that. That just doesn't matter that much in the grand scheme of things.
Love that. Alan, you mentioned self-awareness. Obviously, self-awareness is the great way to growth. Nothing will move if you're not aware that such things should move. That being said, one thing that is very interesting, and you both are coaches, so that you guys are the right person to ask, is once you are self-aware, right? Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom, Aristotle, that's all fantastic. Once you are self-aware, what tools or framework do you use perhaps to help people transform that awareness into actual sustainable actions? Because you can be self-aware all day long. If you're self-aware, but perhaps rolled up in beds, self-aware won't get you basically to that promised land. So tell me more about how you actually enable action through it.
Well, self-awareness is 1/3 of the equation.
Yeah.
So I have this thing called a success loop, and it starts with deeper understanding, because Kevin and I are trying to figure out like why I always believed in myself so much. And I think, first of all, I was not born in an environment that was destined for greatness. That I can promise you. Kevin jokes. He's like, you should have been a fucking serial killer. He's kidding. All right. But the point is I always believed in myself, but I never knew why. And I figured it out, I think, at 36 years old. My brain connects dots very easily. Like, I could study your life, Sam. You could give me a couple highlights and I'd be like, oh, got it. Now, because of that, I had a deeper understanding. Now, I have a self-driving Tesla. Don't villainize me. Give me a second. It has this full self-drive, FSD mode. So you basically just sit there and it drives you. It's awesome.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
I have the same thing, by the way.
Awesome. Love it. Okay, best thing ever. And by the way, that's coming for everybody, whether you like it or not. It is what it is. All science fiction eventually becomes science fact, right? It is what it is. Now, this is my point. There's a full self-driving mode where, and I don't know if you do this in yours, Sam, do you have a Model Y? What do you got?
No, I have the Model 3.
Okay, awesome. So do you have the screen with the full self-driving mode, and you know how you can swipe it left and see the streets or not? And then,
yes.
Okay, that's someone's mental map. So I always watch this thing because I trust it a lot. I used to be a computer engineer. Like, I trust it a lot. And I don't know if you've had a good experience. It's been unbelievable. I mean, it's good.
I love it so much, except in the winters in Quebec, it's not possible.
Really? We'll talk about it. Love it.
Well, we'll talk about it, but you should see the snow here, brother. But go for it.
Okay. Yeah, fair. All right. Well, it needs a snow mode, baby. All right. So make sure you send them some feedback on that. I'm kidding. This is not Montreal friendly. All right. So I'm looking at the mental map. If I see a bird, I want to see if the Tesla picks it up. If I see a tree down, I want to see if the Tesla picks it up. If I see a squirrel or a cat or anything or an opossum, for some reason, there's a bunch of those around. I'm telling you, I want to see if it picks it up. Bikers, cyclists are coming across the way. I have a point to this, everybody. I need to see if it misses anything. You cannot make good decisions with inaccurate data. If the Tesla thinks it's a road and it's actually a cliff, I better notice. That is what's happening in life. We keep taking a right and driving off a cliff because we think it's a road. And then we blame the world, or we blame ourselves, or we blame the government. Listen, if you have inaccurate mental map, which everyone does, you will consistently make poor choices without knowing it and then blame someone. It may be yourself. You get stuck in shame. Maybe it's others and that you can't control others. So my job as a coach, Sam, is simply this. Make sure you have an accurate mental map of yourself, others, and the world. You need to know yourself and your uniqueness. You need to know human beings and how they work, physiology, psychology, neuroscience, you name it, CNS, PNS, all that. And you need to understand the economy and the globe and the world. We saw a post once, Kevin will laugh. I'm the top Facebook group in 220 countries. Mother effer, there's only 195 countries. Look it up, right? We know you're full of shit. So at the end of the day, there's 8 billion people on planet Earth. There's 5.65 billion people online. There's 195 countries. I know the economy globally, and I know statistics and mathematics, and I can help you win in the world because I know the chess pieces, the position on the board, and what each piece does. You don't have to be a master at chess to be reasonable at success. You just have to have an accurate mental map of yourself, others, in the world. Kevin was kidding himself, and so was I. I was unsuccessful because I wanted to believe I was different than I was.
No.
And Kev is the same deal. So that's the metaphor for everybody. If you want to be more successful, you need to update your mental map and identify your blind spots last piece. You are not successful because you don't already believe enough in what you already believe, right? You don't just believe more. You look at your blind spots. My job as a coach is to identify your blind spots and then fill them in with accurate data. If it's a cat, it needs to see a cat. If it's a car, it needs to see a car. If it's a cyclist, it needs to see a cyclist so that you can make a good decision.
I was always personally a fan of checkers more than chess. Just simple. You hop one, hop two. You don't have to worry about 3 up, 2 over. What are we doing here? My favorite framework that I ever talk. So I essentially only coach podcasters, speakers, and coaches now, which is weird for me to even say. But the thing that crosses all industries and it crosses a bunch of categories is self-belief. So when I work with somebody, we set goals based on the level of self-belief they actually have, not what they think they should set goals on. Yes, I started my business. I'm going to make $7 million this year. No, you're not. And you don't believe you are, so there's no way you're going to. Now, somebody like you, Sam, you're different. You have a very high level of self-belief. You're 20, you're crushing it. Like, it's different. You're playing a different game. One of the things I noticed is Alan and Sam would give advice to somebody like me and say, well, just believe in yourself more. Thank you.
Right.
I appreciate that. Strategy for that or no? Just
real quick.
Yeah.
I don't do that anymore.
You don't do that anymore.
Now I say, hey, Kevin, have you considered this blind spot?
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So, or the other thing is,
but I used to do that for sure.
Just don't be anxious. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I never thought of that before. I will do my best to not be, or just stop caring what people think. This is like an evolutionary thing. Like, what do you just want me to turn off my wiring? So yeah, I like talking about self-belief from a perspective of self-awareness because I think people who tend to be very successful are just wired differently, trying to talk to people who aren't wired the same. And there's always a disconnection. So I think I have a very unique strength where I'm not somebody who naturally has a lot of self-belief. So I can actually work with somebody who doesn't. And that's my favorite framework to lean into to help.
Nice.
Yeah, that's very interesting, and I agree with you. I think that when you teach, you learn, you teach. But if there's too big of a gap between the people that teach and learn, there might be basically this place where you lost yourself in translations, and lost the other person translation also. I want to very quickly target one of the most interesting thing that you guys perhaps talks about, which is the heartfelt love sort of trio, perhaps for the real next level. One thing that always come to mind for everyday people, perhaps for both of you, is people tell me all the time, well, Sam, I don't have time to only dedicate myself to Wild because then my health is collapsing. Or perhaps if I spend all my time trying to find a love partner, then perhaps health and Wild is just lagging behind. There's sort of this and I hear this all the time, by the way, there's sort of this misconceptions. I never struggle with it, but I hear it very often of, well, no, actually, these things in some sorts of weird fashions are not interconnected to each other. So within your interconnected model of growth, right, balancing emotional, financial fulfillment, and so on, you sort of have this concept where I suppose you can scale on one pillar, right? Just like your chair has 3-4 legs, all right? And the reason why is because that stabilizes such a chair. So I'm really interested from your perspective.
Got some weird chairs over there in France.
How do you...
I'm kidding. I'm joking. Montreal. 3-legged chairs. Yeah, nice.
The 4 legs of a chair is something we talk a lot about here for sure. Yeah. And and we drink a lot, so maybe that's why. But so perhaps, how do you coach individuals to expand the sort of the on one area of life, or suppose all of them simultaneously, without having this sort of feeling that, the other pillars will collapse basically upon it?
Kevin, do you mind if I take that?
Yeah, Hammer. Real quick, this is what I would say. They don't collapse, but they do degrade. I am of the opinion that you can only pour into one at a maximum rate of speed because there's only so much input. Now, Alan's a very unique case where he has a business with his partner and he works out with his partner every single night. So it's a little bit different. So they have more harmony in that. But for most, I know it's by design, but for most people, when you're at the gym, yes, you are creating longevity and competence and discipline and grit that will help you in business. But I do think if you're crushing it at level 10 in fitness, I don't know if you're going to be crushing it at level 10 in anything else.
Interesting. Alan, take it from there, please.
Yeah. So what he's sharing is mathematically accurate in the sense of growing the growth.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to grow the growth. So our company right now is growing at 30% year over year. And we averaged 154% for a little while. And we lost our minds. And now we're at 30%. I'm trying to get us to 41%. So if you grow your company by 9% per quarter, 41% per year, you double your company every 2 years, which is insane.
Yes.
Which is insane. The magic penny, you double a penny every day for 31 days, it becomes $10.4 million. I'm rounding up. And then halfway through, it's like a Happy Meal, right? You guys have heard all this. All right. At the end of the day, my point is we are right now in a business growth phase where we're trying to hit 41% growth this year, which is not easy because we're not starting from a small number and we don't have outside investment. So I would say that our health and longevity is not growing the growth rate the same as the business. Okay. You have growth and then you have growing the growth, which is the difference between speed and acceleration. We are accelerating in business. Awesome. We're growing the growth. Great. My relationship, not really. My health is growing, but not growing the growth. And I think that that's what Kev's trying to say is entropy states that all things you don't inject time, effort, and money into will die.
Yes.
If you stop injecting time, effort, and money into your relationship, I promise you, I coach couples, it will die. I've seen it happen. I've done it myself. Luckily not with this one. But ultimately, the point is you have health, wealth, and love. Health is physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Wealth is where you make your money. Do you love what that is? Is it meaningful to you? To the name of your podcast, meaning. And where do you invest it, most importantly? And then love is intimate relationship first, immediate family, children, pets, friends, colleagues, clients, mentors, mentees, that whole thing. So health, wealth, and love is as simple as I can make it, but it's 3 full-time jobs. Now, last piece. If you are top 1% in health, wealth, and love, that's 1 over 100 times 3. Yes. 1 over 100 times 1 over 100 times 1 over 100. So 1 over 100 to the third. Mm-hmm. For the non-math people out there, you're 1 in a million. If you're top 1% in health, wealth, and love, you are literally statistically 1 in a million, which is nearly impossible to do, especially if you don't have humility and work ethic. So I want to be top 1% of 1% of 1% in health, wealth, and love long term. So here's my short form answer at the end of that long diatribe. If you do want to be healthy, wealthy, and in love, which is everybody, and you want to be healthier, wealthier, and more in love forever, I think that going all in on one of them for too long of a period is actually detrimental to the long term. Now, I'm going to give you an example. The wealthiest person on planet Earth is Elon Musk. Do not associate me with Elon in any regard. Now, I think, what do I want to say about this? He has neglected his health, and I think that will bite him. That is my truth. Elon, don't come at me. At the end of the day, I am playing the long game, and I'm focused on longevity, and I focus on sleep, hydration, nutrition, training, mobility, breathwork, supplementation. I am always. I asked Kevin last night, hey man, how's your longevity going? He looks like he's not aging as well as he could. That's my truth. Okay, he looks great compared to most people. Certainly aging better than some people we went to high school with. I'll tell you what. But the point is, like, I said, I can't have you burn out at 50. Like, we're playing the long game. I can't. You're a business partner. Like, I need you long term, son. So take care of yourself, right? Don't burn yourself down in the short term to try to maximize 41% growth this year when I want 41% growth year over year for the next several decades, right? I need you for another 40 years minimum. And that's how I think. And I know that it's not maybe kind or whatever, people with that, but that's the truth. The truth is you got to play the long game. And yeah, what if you die tomorrow? Listen, statistics say you will not. What if you don't? Which you probably won't, because we live in a safe world for the most part. And the average life expectancy right now is 80.
That's right.
Globally is 80. It's actually
keep on increasing.
Women. Yeah, and it keeps on increasing.
It keeps on increasing, and especially in the Western countries, which you're right to point out. Fantastic. We start with the past. We talk about the present. Let's talk about the future, perhaps. As you're describing yourself, you talk about the next 40 years. Let's not go this far. If you look at basically 10 years ahead, both of you, what does next level mean not only to yourself, but also to the company that you guys are growing? Tell me more about the exciting stuff coming up.
Not a clue. Couldn't tell you. I'll let you know. I'll let you know in 8 years, Sam. I have no idea. I didn't know it was going to look like this. I do know that I'm going to get better at podcasting. I'm going to get better at speaking. I'll get better at managing my money. I will be a better husband, and I'm going to be in more shape, better shape. That is the goal. Outside of that, flip a coin.
I'm gonna be in more shape.
More shape.
Spherical, more spherical.
Hopefully not.
you know, I'm kidding. We used to have a guy at our gym called Bowling Ball McGee. He's in perfect shape. He's round. I'm kidding. I'm obviously being playful. All right. I don't think Kev's ever heard that before.
I have not.
What are we gonna do in the next decade? Ultimately, we are trying to help heart-driven people achieve success, and people who have the syntax right. So Kevin was impact first, profitability second, mastery third. I think the more optimal approach is mastery first, impact second, profitability third.
Okay.
The person who is most, and you can do this with anyone's career. You can look at Serena Williams. Like, what's underneath all of her success? It's mastery of tennis. And then there's sub skills underneath that, hand-eye coordination, blah, blah, blah. Again, I don't know Serena. The point that I'm making is mastery should be first, impact should be second, and profitability should be third. We are basically building a company that is entirely predicated and designed to help heart-driven people achieve more success, because we know that heart-driven people are going to earn that success by impacting the world in a positive way, which the world desperately needs in the 21st century. So we're aiming at the highest possible good we can conceptualize and believe in, and that's what I've been doing my entire life, and that is a mountain that gets higher as you climb it. But in the next decade, we're going to have, like Kevin mentioned, an app. We have a journal called The Dreamliner. We've got masterclasses we do every month for free. We've got a book club I've been doing for 5 years. We're reading Rationality by Steven Pinker right now. It's every Saturday. Yeah, good one. I knew you had read that, Sam. I can tell by the way you think. But ultimately, we're just trying to help as many people as possible. However, we have decided, fortunately in advance, not to help people who are these two people. These are the two people we don't help. Number one is bullies, people who tear others down to make themselves feel bigger. And number two is spoiled brats, people who want huge rewards for minimal effort. Those are the only two people that we aren't here to help. And we're here to help heart-driven people who want to do good in the world. And we're going to help you succeed.
The mission doesn't end when we are gone. It continues in the people who choose to grow. Alan, Lazaros, Kevin Palmieri. What a time to be alive. What an episode. Thank you so much for your grit and for this synergetic brotherhoods. It was absolutely phenomenal. I would love if you guys can leave us with some last words of wisdom, please.
I got this. Here we go, Alan. The biggest difference between who you are today and who you aspire to be is your habits, and your habits are what you do day in and day out. So make sure you are choosing them effectively if you want to live a meaningful existence.
Nice. At 26, I faced mortality. It was the second chance my dad never got. And I realized that what's ultimately going to matter is doing all you can with all you have and reaching your full potential, whatever that means to you. So number one, you need to own who you are and accept who you are. And then after that, it's grow that thing to its full potential by helping other people and learning and growth and all that kind of stuff. So reach out to us if you have high humility and high work ethic. Do not reach out under any circumstance if you do not.
Thank you for spending your time with us today on the Meaningful Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review or share it with someone who could benefit from it. And always remember, your story matters. Make it meaningful. We hope to see you next time.